Hello there, I'm Dr. Glenn Wallace, the founder of Exigence, where we design and deliver products and solutions for our customers to help them successfully execute on their organisational change programs. You're very welcome to this video and I hope you'll find it very valuable. We're going to be talking about the latest research on a really important human capital topic, that of performance management in a hybrid workplace. Just a quick overview of where we're going to go in this short video. Firstly, we're going to talk about Precis, this new innovation of ours that is there to help you be able to access new insight, new research, but in a summarised way so that you don't have to plough through all of the content and all of the research that's out there yourself, even if you had the time or the inclination to do that. And then secondly, we'll get into some of the sort of standout pieces of research, I guess, that we came across. We looked at 18 different sources, as well as talking amongst ourselves as a team of experienced leadership coaches, and also we spoke with our HR network, and we pulled those things together. So we'll sort of be able to share those insights for you, and then at the end just sort of pull together some meta themes for you to consider. So Precis is a new creation. It will be a 6-weekly cadence of new information on a topic that is important and has been sort of deemed important by our HR network, so that it's something that we know is going to add value and is of interest to people such as yourself. And I hope you definitely find that over time we create a really interesting library of relevant content for you, to summary content for you to be able to access quickly, just so that you're conscious and comfortable that what we're putting forward is robust and rigorous. We drew from 3 different sources. The first is academic research, so those are from journal articles. The second place is from practitioner literature, and the third and final space is from our own experience and conversations that we have, as I said, with our own network. And the sweet spot between those 3 circles is really where we drew the conclusions, and the meta themes emerged from that. So let's get into this idea then of performance management in a hybrid workplace. It needs to be said initially that by hybrid workplace, we're not being prescriptive about what that means. It's basically wherever there is a mix of work that might be going on at home and in wherever your workplace or space is. That might be an office, but it might of course be in lots of other contexts. But so it is that mix between home and wherever your workplace is. So we're not being prescriptive about whether that's one day, a fortnight, or 3 days a week. It's just wherever that blend exists. What you might expect was that although this research that we've reviewed is right up to date, there were some very interesting new focus and emphases. So that was interesting, and also there were some things where you sort of had perhaps things that we either intuitively knew or were already doing confirmed as good practice, or indeed the things that were being suggested from the research. The first is, I think, hopefully one that you as an HR professional would consider to be good to know. It does come with a little health warning. Good to know because if you look at the impact of HR's processes and systems, the interventions that you put into place, you definitely can have a strategic impact, positive strategic impact on the performance of the organisation and the motivations of individuals. So there's a really important role for HR to play in the performance of the organisation. So that's a really positive thing to think about. The one sort of health warning, I guess, is how do you ensure that performance management isn't seen as just something that HR is doing to the organisation. So there's a constant tension here, I think, between putting in all the support and putting in the processes and systems, but ensuring that everybody owns their own performance, and that leaders and managers are supporting that through engaging in performance conversations on a regular basis. So that would be my one sort of area for you to think about. This is great that we are impacting the performance positively as HR, but how do I make sure that it's seen as everybody's responsibility, not just the HR function. The second piece of research that I wanted to share with you is this work by Robert Giuliani and Garau. Looked at something I'm sure you're familiar with, which is this idea that, you know, in what they call Industry 4.0, basically the modern workplace, performance management is often supported by technology platforms, and that interface between the human and technology can be really helpful, especially, of course, in the hybrid workplace where you've got people at a distance. But using technology to gather data, to capture feedback, and then for leaders and followers to be able to have a conversation centred on, you know, whatever's presented from the platforms that we're talking about can be really helpful. So there is the potential. What this group found was that if it's going to break down anywhere, or if there are going to be inconsistencies anywhere, it will be in the human element of this way forward rather than in the technology. So the challenge, I think, for your organisation and for you perhaps as HR leading this particular area is how do you ensure that all actors, as they call them, both the leaders and managers perhaps leading the conversation and the followers, the employees, the frontline employees being on the sort of receiving end of those conversations, if you like. How does that, how do you ensure that you get consistency across all of those actors, and then a sort of solidarity between them? You know, this is important. You know, I am a good corporate citizen, a good corporate leader, and I need to ensure that I'm doing the right thing. So I think there's some questions there about how you would achieve that. Seems to be the challenge, because the technology seems to be definitely helping. This, I think, is really interesting, and certainly in conversation with our own HR network, something that they hadn't really considered in quite the way that at least this research suggests would be helpful. And that is that there is a dynamic going on here between the employees and the leaders. I appreciate that's too simplistic, but just for the sake of my basic graphic skills, you've got the people that are leading the performance management conversations, whether that's, you know, quarterly or half yearly, but increasingly, of course, that's every day part of the process. That performance management can both generate anxiety and therefore have a negative impact on well-being, and yet it also improves well-being, or can improve well-being, for a number of different reasons. So anxiety goes up when there is sense of unfairness, maybe. Their anxiety increases when there's a kind of unknown. I'm not sure what's coming in terms of these, particularly where you've got sort of you know, one-off events of performance management rather than ongoing managing performance. And also the sort of sense of self that can be affected by judgment. So those would be some things that raise anxiety, whereas actually performance management also has a positive impact by giving a sense of certainty, connecting individuals to something much larger to themselves, feeling part of a team and contributing, sense of self-efficacy. So some real positives that could come from performance management well done. I think the surprise for the group that we talked to was actually they spend a lot of time and resource on putting well-being processes in place, and hadn't really considered that, you know, there is a potential for the downside of well-being to sort of dilute some of the other work that they're putting in place. So I think that is a useful thing to be aware of, and then to get ahead of that. If you are planning to change your performance management process, how could you minimise the anxiety that it might generate, and how do you maximise the well-being elements as you start to plan what new project management might look like in your organisation? So I hope that's helpful. So just to finish off then, what were the themes to emerge? Well, in summary, that HR has a central role, and that it's about how you communicate that central role across the organisation, but without taking ownership for performance management and everybody else's performance. That's their job. That there is this interesting dynamic between well-being and managing performance that, as we just said, you know, can be really positive and well worth tapping into, and that regular feedback is often nowadays being set through some sort of technology platform, and it's ensuring the consistency of approach there that's important. A couple of sort of additional thoughts to take away. Leaders and managers will need support to manage that performance at a distance. Many of them, not doing that very effectively, and that's a challenge for organisations. So not only are you not getting the performance that you need, but actually that you could be driving some really negative elements into the culture of the organisation where it's being done, either not being done or it's being done really badly. So there would be some support there. And secondly, that where leaders and managers may have quite a singular approach to managing, leading, sort of cookie cutter approach where it's highly directive, it's about input, presenteeism, they don't want you out of the office because, if they can't see you, they don't trust you, versus a much more flexible approach based on outcome. Those leaders who have a singular approach really struggled and continue to struggle. So how are you going to help them be better able to have kind of coaching style conversations with their teams to really drive performance and keep that on a much more kind of regular basis? So those things came through in conversations that we've had and the data. I hope you found that really helpful. Look, if you want any more information, please don't hesitate to contact us, info@exigence.co. This is the first of these Precis presentations, and I hope you found it useful. I don't want to keep them very long. I want to keep them nice and tight inside of sort of 10 minutes or so. And then, if you want any further information, I'd be really happy to share. Just please contact us, info@exigence.co. And the next 6 weeks or so, we will be presenting another summary for you, and hopefully you'll find that valuable too. We look forward to hearing from you, and I hope that your innovations and changes and transformations that you might be making go incredibly well. Until the next time, this is Dr. Glenn Wallace saying I wish you all the very best. Take care.